Hello, welcome to another episode. Here today we'll share Aidan's round 15 and then we'll come into the final split round for round 16. So Aidan, take it away.
Thank you for having me on as always, Ben. It is now time to get into round 15 in the 2025 AFL season, and we are going to start on the Thursday night game as we always do. The Thursday night game for round 15 was Fremantle versus Essendon from Optus Stadium in Perth. Fremantle obviously the much stronger side between them and Essendon right now. They are a lot healthier, a lot fitter, and the Bombers are losing players by the week as we go through towards the end of the season. So this one looked like it should have been quite comfortable for Fremantle, and it was winning the game 16-8, 104 to 9-9, 63, winning by 41 points over the Bombers. And the class of Fremantle just shows when they put their head to it, they show that they are a real classy football team and that can take on anyone, take out anyone on their day. Essendon, a real good effort, just sort of got dragged out there at the end a little bit, but still great effort from the Bombers, especially in that opening quarter, to keep Fremantle within touching distance. Just couldn't go the rest of the game, but this is what happens when you just don't have the bodies to line up against a top tier opposition like Fremantle, who by all rights should be playing in the finals this year. So Fremantle, your winner here by 41 points. Player of the game should be no surprise to anybody. It was Luke Jackson from Fremantle, 144 AFL fantasy, 3 goals, 21 touches, 11 kicks, 10 handballs, 4 marks, 4 tackles, and 48 hitouts. Now we jump into the Friday game this week. Brisbane and Geelong from Cardinia Park in Victoria. Patrick Dangerfield's 350th game. So well done to Dangerfield on that achievement, and also well done to the Brisbane Lions for winning this game in Geelong 14-8, 92, 6-15, 51. Brisbane, a lot better scoring effort from them this week, a lot more composed, controlled, and focusing on getting good shots over just rushed opportunities, especially in that first quarter. They put the Cats to the sword quite early in the game and really held their lead from that point. Geelong, were a little bit shaky, 6-15 their way, so only, 1 goal to every 3 behinds thereabouts, and that's not good enough. I know there's a lot of pressure playing against a top side at home, but Geelong, this was an uncharacteristic game from Geelong. They should be doing better than that. I know they can play a lot better than that. I think we all say they are a genuine contender, but Brisbane getting the win in this one here. Brisbane, this was their first win at Cardinia Park since round 6 of 2003, so 22 years and a couple of months between drinks at the Cattery for the Lions as they get the win, the Big Cats over the domestic Cats. Player of the game in Geelong versus Brisbane was Dane Zorko from Brisbane, 124 AFL fantasy, 33 touches, 26 kicks, 7 handballs, 7 marks, and 3 tackles. He was all over this game and is your player of the game in this one. We now move on to the Saturday, and with teams on a bye this week, there was only 3 games. So we start at the top with Carlton versus North Melbourne. This started around lunchtime across the country, and Carlton were dismal in the first quarter, and well, they were actually good in the first quarter, but then the second quarter got away from them, the third quarter got away from them, and they stormed back in the last, but they lose to North Melbourne. The final scores in this one: Carlton 10-13, 73, North Melbourne 13-6, 84, North Melbourne. Really good effort from them. This is what they believe. They can hold a team to under 80 points. They're right in the contest. They do it again. They get another win. They had 19 scoring shots. Carlton had 23. Carlton 3+ in the behinds with 10-13 there in that one. So a little bit more accurate from the Blues. We'll see them go over North Melbourne in that middle stage, keep a little bit of pressure on them in the middle stage. But unfortunately, some costly errors, and some mistakes is what cost the Blues in this one. North Melbourne move on. This was a big win for them. This is the beginning of North Melbourne for the future. I believe this is where we're going to start to see the second half of this year, the back third of this year. We're going to start to see the North Melbourne that's going to be appearing for us over the next 2 or 3 years, leading up to them being a genuine contender once again. Player of the game in Carlton versus North Melbourne was Harry Sheasel from North Melbourne. 116 AFL fantasy, 1 goal, 30 touches, 16 kicks, 14 handballs, 9 marks and 3 tackles for the young Roo, seeing his team over the line in the end over a desperate and chasing Carlton football side. Next up on the Saturday, we had Port Adelaide versus Sydney from the Adelaide Oval, and Port Adelaide came into this one looking for a chance to increase their pressure on the top 9 to see if they can sneak into final. Sydney trying to keep pace as well. We go into this one straight away. Very, very fumbly game from Port Adelaide. They were all over the place from the beginning. Could never get settled in this game. Sydney taking opportunity of that, settled into their rhythm across the midfield. Not so much in front of goal as we're about to get to, but across the midfield in defence. Settled into a really nice rhythm and were able to control the power from there. So final scores in this one were Port Adelaide 7-10-52. Sydney 9-17-71. Now normally I'd be telling a team off for going 9-17-71, but in this case it was Sydney holding their line due to pressure in the forward half on Port Adelaide, not allowing Port to get too many scoring opportunities. They're going their way throughout the contest until the real back end of the game where Sydney took their foot off the throttle a little bit, knowing that they had done enough to win in that last 5 minutes against Port Adelaide. So 9-17, that's mainly contributed to by Joel Amati kicking 0 goals. 6, there were a lot of other players who had some bad nights. Warner 2 points, Sheldrick 2 points. Sydney, Tom Papley only had 2 points as well. So their major goal kickers only kicked points on the day. Port Adelaide, very similar issue. Not enough forward time, not enough forward pressure, not enough opportunities on goal. They finished with a negative score differential as well. But Sydney are the ones moving into Adelaide, moving out of Adelaide with the win as they go back to Sydney to continue their finals push for 2025. Port Adelaide again stuck in the rut again. They played such a brilliant game against Melbourne last week. I thought that was going to continue over, but unfortunately it doesn't, and they are back to the Port Adelaide of standard for 2025. Player of the game in this one between Port Adelaide and Sydney was Brady Grundy. 121 AFL fantasy, 22 touches, 11 kicks, 11 handballs, 8 marks, 4 tackles and 34 hitouts for the Swans ruckman. Our game on the Saturday night this week was Collingwood versus St Kilda from Marvel Stadium, and despite Collingwood's little joke on their banner about the crowd size and the arena size compared to their natural home of the MCG, they were the team coming out on top with a clean 34-point win over St Kilda, who, to their credit, put up a very, very good effort throughout that middle period of the game, starting probably in that late first quarter, where they keep Collingwood at bay. So first quarter, Collingwood only 5 goals, St Kilda 3 goals in that first quarter. And then through the middle quarters, through the second and the third, St Kilda trying to keep Collingwood at bay. I give them a lot of credit. Brought it back to a very close game at points. I believe it could have been even at points as well in this one before Collingwood just put their foot to the floor and take over in the last couple of minutes of the final quarter here at Marvel Stadium. Final scores were Collingwood 16-12, 108. St Kilda 11-8, 74. So Collingwood, well done on the win in this one. They are the team that look to be cruising towards finals and cruising towards a possible new premiership banner to hang at the clubhouse there at Collingwood. St Kilda playing a mid-table game for a mid-table team is all I can say about that. So, well, they had shown some bits of brilliance throughout the game, chasing Collingwood down, holding them close for a while. That the skill difference between the two sides showed in the last quarter, with Collingwood running over them to win by just under 6 goals. Player of the game in this one has to be Darcy Cameron of Collingwood. 128 AFL fantasy, 2 goals, 19 touches, 16 kicks, 3 handballs, 8 marks, 2 tackles, 28 hitouts for the big man from Collingwood. Going into the Sunday of round 15, we start with GWS versus Gold Coast, and this one was an absolute cracker at Energy Stadium in West Sydney. Gold Coast starting the first quarter very, very strong, kicking the first 4 and finishing the first quarter at 7-6 to GWS's 4-1. So GWS this despite the strong start from Gold Coast kept himself in the game. Second quarter, it is 1 goal to Gold Coast, 2 goals to GWS. Then in the third, it is 2 goals to GWS, 3 goals to the Gold Coast. And then what a turnaround we have in the final quarter. GWS kicking 8-goal 1 to win the game over Gold Coast by 7 points. Final scores, GWS 16-10 106, Gold Coast 14-15 99. So this probably is the game of the round. It was the real only close game we had all round this week, with most of the other fixtures being top teams played against bottom teams. But Gold Coast really should have done a lot better job here. If they want to play finals in 2025, they're going to need to take those strong starts and finish these games off again. Let down again. This is what they've done. They've done it against Adelaide earlier in the year as well. They get a really strong start. Luckily, they were able to hold on against the Crows in that one, but that could have been another loss where they had a strong start and got chased down in the end by the opposition. So Gold Coast needs to be wary of that going forward. GWS, again, great chase down win. Great play by Jake Stringer in that final quarter as a super sub to come on and knock off the Gold Coast in the final quarter. My player of the game in this one, it's going to be Jared Witts from Gold Coast. 138 AFL fantasy. 1 goal. 20 touches, 7 kicks, 13 handballs, 3 marks, 7 tackles, and 54 hitouts. So Gold Coast Jared Witts, a very, very strong performance in the ruck contest, but just not enough ball retention in that final quarter, the dying minutes to get Gold Coast over the line in this one. But he wins player of the game for his great ruck work in the first and second quarters. Final game of round 15 was Western Bulldogs versus Richmond from Marvel Stadium. Western Bulldogs were all over this one from the very, very beginning. Final scores here, Western Bulldogs 21-9 135, Richmond 8-8 56. Western Bulldogs clear winners here by 79 points. They had it from the beginning. Richmond, we're kind of in the contest at the end of the first quarter, but the scoreline again doesn't show the full story of the game. Only down by 2 goals at quarter time with Richmond, and then from there it was all Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs go 7 goal, 5 goal, and 6 goal in the remaining quarters. Richmond second quarter only 1 point, and then they had a 2 goal quarter in the third, and then a 5 goal quarter in the last, when Western Bulldogs put their foot off the gas for a little bit and let Richmond come in, closing their percentage down a little bit for a final flurry from the Bulldogs. Takes this game out of their reach. At the end, it was clear display. There is only really one clear winner in this one for the player of the game, and we're going to get through this game very quickly. It was Marcus Bontempelli, 120 AFL fantasy, 3 goals, 36 touches, 18 kicks, 18 handballs, 3 marks, and 2 tackles. Your clear player of the game in this one for the Western Bulldogs as they move on and look to continue to seal their spot in September in 2025. There were only 7 games this week, and there were 4 teams on the bye. Those teams on the bye for round 15 were Adelaide, Hawthorn, Melbourne, and West Coast. So those teams week off, rested, ready to go for week 16. And it is round 16 that we're going to go to right now. We're going to start by naming the teams on the bye for round 16, which are Brisbane, Essendon, Geelong, and GWS. First game for round 16, Thursday Night Football, we have Port Adelaide versus Carlton. This is a tough one to call. It is at Adelaide Oval, which favours Port Adelaide, but again, Port Adelaide, their form very fluctuating. Carlton, same, very fluctuating form. We've seen the good and the bad from both of these teams. Even though it's at Adelaide Oval, I am going to take Carlton, even though they lost to North Melbourne. I think they're a much better side than Port Adelaide if they were to go man on man. Friday night, we have a real cracker of a game here. Sydney versus Western Bulldogs. These games are always great to watch when the Swannies and the Doggies come together, and this one is at the SCG. I think the Doggies, though, are just a little bit stronger than the Swans at the moment, and Swannies' goal kicking efficiency and goal kicking accuracy has not been as high as I think I'd like it to be to watch them. When I watch Sydney, there is still a missing link in that chain. So Doggies winning that one. Going into the Saturday, we have Gold Coast versus Melbourne at Gold Coast. And I think based on where Melbourne's shown their form this season, it's been, again, much like Port Adelaide and Carlton, very up and down. And for that reason, I take Gold Coast. Hawthorn versus North Melbourne. This is a game that probably should be really one-sided in favour of Hawthorn. I think North Melbourne could keep them close close in the game from at least the first half, maybe into the third quarter, and then Hawthorn will pull away there. So Hawthorn over North Melbourne in that one. Then Saturday night, we have Collingwood versus West Coast. Again, a game that's going to be really one-sided, I believe, for Collingwood. West Coast are just, I don't know where they are. They're all over the place at the moment. Against a clean, classy side like Collingwood, it's going to be a horror show for West Coast fans out there. So Collingwood winning that one. Going to Sunday, our 2 games on Sunday, we start with Richmond versus Adelaide. Tough game for Adelaide. They travel to Melbourne, but they are playing Richmond, which makes it a little bit easier. So I think Richmond maybe have a little bit of an upturn in form, show what they can do a little bit more against Adelaide, but I think Crows still strong winners at the MCG on Sunday afternoon. And then our second game on Sunday afternoon is Fremantle versus St Kilda, with Fremantle at home again against a mid-table side like they had Essendon this past week. They now have St Kilda. Again, a really clean, classy win for Fremantle in this one. So just to wrap up, my winners for round 16 are Carlton, Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, Hawthorn, Collingwood, Adelaide and Fremantle. And that is all I have for you on this episode of the BJ Footy Show, and I will send it back to Ben in the studio.
Thank you so much, Aidan, and I hope you enjoyed it from round 15 off into the final split round of round 16. And thank you so much, Aidan, for your showing here on the Aussie Footy Show. It's known for the BJ Show Footy Show. Alright, thank you so much. We'll see you very soon. Exciting episodes are coming here on the BJ Show. Alright, catch you all. Bye for now. Peace.